So what was the plan? Like, do a quick wrap up of the first game and say we'll be back for game number two in about 20. Welcome, everyone, to Southern Virginia University Women's Soccer here from the fields at Southern Virginia University. I'm Jim Bresnahan, joined by Mike Harmon, getting ready to bring you a doubleheader today. Southern Virginia women taking on Barton in the first game, followed by the men's soccer game, as the men will be taking on Greensboro, Mike.
Yeah, last out-of-conference game for both teams. Both teams coming off of a weekend that they probably would like to forget, but there's a lot of injuries that have happened to both teams, and we'll get into that as the games progress.
And let's talk about how things went for the men and the women at St. Mary's on Saturday. Obviously, as you mentioned, a very tough first half in both cases. They had to, or for perhaps whatever reason, the decision was to change goalkeepers in the second half, and things settled down a little bit in the second half. But St. Mary's very strong, very good outing for both their men's soccer team and their women's soccer team on Saturday, especially, again, getting a lot of their offense in the first half in a 7-1 victory over the women on Saturday, and then a 7-0 victory over the men on Saturday.
Yeah, unfortunately, 5 goals were scored in the first half by St. Mary's, all of them against the goalkeeper, Carmel Hardy. And again, don't know if they got off the bus and weren't actually prepared for it, but within the first 10 minutes, 4 goals being scored, and the Knights were just never able to recover from that.
And then again, changing goalkeepers in the second half, and kind of the same situation for the men in the second game at St. Mary's. Ended up losing that game, giving up, again, plenty of goals in the first half, changing goalkeepers. Keenan Carroll out after the first half, and then into the second half, a new goalkeeper for the men. And, of course, they've been battling injuries as well.
Yeah, again, we just don't know how things progressed up there. I know both teams are battling a lot of injuries. We may see one of the new goalkeepers for the Knights tonight. For the women's side, Emily Weymouth. We'll see if they bring her in, but they're going to start Carmel Hardy in goal tonight, and we'll see how things progress from there. Barton is a very, very good team coming in from a Division II conference down in the Carolinas, and this will be a great test for the Knights. Yeah,
Barton comes in with a record of 3-2-2 on the season, but they, as you mentioned, Mike, they play a pretty tough schedule. They'll be facing a Southern Virginia team coming in with a record of 3-6 on the season.
Yeah, and right now the Knights' biggest key is let's not get anybody hurt, and let's keep on trying to progress with our offense and defense. I do know that the Knights will be playing a different system tonight. They'll be playing a 4-3-3, so we'll see if that helps goal scoring for the Knights.
We're going to have the prayer national anthem, I believe, coming up here, Mike, shortly, but how does that starting lineup look tonight for the Knights?
Well, tonight we'll start out with 0 Carmel Hardy in goal. Number 3, Mackenzie Cottle. Number 4, Sierra Sorensen. Number 5, Lily Winterton. Number 11, Cammie Miller. Number 13, Victoria Slade. Number 14, Ann Powell. Number 17, Shalay Nakamoto. Number 26, Emily McFadden. Number 27, Savannah Pulliam. And number 32, Lauren Hatchett.
And Barton's starting lineup. How about the Barton Club from North Carolina?
We'll get to that in just a second. We'll take a little time out for prayer and national anthem.
Okay, prayer and national anthem coming up next. And welcome back to the fields at Southern Virginia University. Again, a doubleheader coming up here for you. We've got women's soccer in the opening game as the women get ready to take on Barton. And then in the men's game, the second game following this women's contest, we'll have men's soccer, Southern Virginia hosting Greensboro. And Mike, as you mentioned just a few minutes ago, it's the final non-conference games for the men's and women's soccer. Obviously, last day of September, then into October, fully fledged schedule in the Capital Conference. And then both these teams, men's soccer here at the Knights and also the women's soccer team, really beat up. A lot of players injured. Won't see a lot of players probably on the men's and the women's side playing in this non-conference game. So how do they treat these non-conference games with another big conference matchup coming up on Saturday?
Well, I know that both teams are mixing up the systems that they're going to be playing. Today it's all about learning how to play with that system against another team. The 4-3-3 that the Lady Knights will be playing with, we're going to be looking to see how they progress with the attack there. So, and again, I talked to Coach Graurock and asked him what the big key was for tonight, and he said nobody get hurt. So that's what they're looking for.
And you see a lot of the key players they'll be depending on here, at least in the first half, including Sorensen, number 4, and Cottle, number 3.
Yeah, those two are one of the few that have not been injured throughout all season long. Hopefully they stay injury free, but they're going to really have to start to pick up a few little things here and there. And Coach Graurock's hoping that this system change will really play to their strengths, the attacking nature, and give them more chances to put shots on goal.
And number 26 right there, McFadden, who had a couple of goals, of course, in the Knights' 4-3 victory last week as they were able to go ahead and defeat Averett 4-3 on September the 22nd. McFadden had a couple of goals, and Jamila Gambi had a couple of goals. Don't see Jamila out there for the starting lineups, and not sure if she'll play at all today.
No, she's out for today. She got a concussion in the first half against St. Mary's, and so she's not hadn't cleared the concussion protocol yet, and so we won't see her at all today.
That it really hurts to be missing good athletes like Jamila Gambi and potentially Tatiana Monson too.
Yeah, Tatiana won't play today. She just had an MRI on her knee to find out what's going on there. There's a potential that we won't see Savannah Uri in goal at all today. Valerie Cruz has an ankle injury from St. Mary's, and I was talking to one of the assistant coaches, and she was telling me that she thinks there's about 10 girls that we will not see in action today.
And then, of course, the men. Now, Mullaball was able to make it back for the St. Mary's game on Saturday.
Yes, but again, don't know how effective he is right now. And there's some other injuries and sicknesses that are going around that have limited some of the Knights on the men's team to really limited minutes.
And no rest for the weary, as we mentioned. This is a Wednesday, and in just a few days coming up on Saturday, doubleheader against Salisbury.
Yeah,
followed by another doubleheader on the following Tuesday, October the 6th, I believe, as they'll be taking on, I believe, Mary Washington.
Yeah, there's no rest right now. It's all about playing the Capital Conference tournament. Capital Conference schedule. And it happens every Tuesday, every Saturday. You know you're going to be playing a top-notch team in the Capital Conference.
And the interesting philosophy, or I guess goal, for both Coach Graurock and probably for Coach Patino for the men too, is just don't have anyone else go down, no one else get hurt.
Yeah, that's the huge goal for today. And when we started the season, I don't think either coach really thought about having a problem of having too few players. They both had a roster of 30 plus. Didn't anticipate all the injuries that they've had accumulated over the past
I guess
few
that
years.
opening game injury to Rachel Miller might have been obviously a sign of things to come.
That was a very bad omen there of things to come. But the Knights, they'll persevere and they'll fight through, and we can see that there's really good coaching strategy going on as coaches have opted to change the systems that they're using.
And actually very tough opponents today for both the Knights, a women's soccer team facing Barton here today in just a few seconds, and Greensboro has a pretty good ball club as well, the opponent for the men's soccer game coming up in game number 2 of this doubleheader.
Yeah, Greensboro, again, their record doesn't show really good.
Played a very tough schedule, though.
They do. They're coming in
played
at 2-4-1.
Washington and Lee very tough.
Played Washington and Lee very tough. They've played Salisbury.
I think they won at Guilford.
And they played Christopher Newport, which is one of the top teams in the Capital Athletic Conference. Played them to a 1-2 loss.
Yeah, we're talking a top 10 team, I think.
Yes.
Maybe even top 5.
So it's going to be a great test for both teams tonight. And again, the big key is don't let anybody get hurt for the rest of the season.
And how about the goalkeepers, too? Again, we mentioned a tough first half for Carmel Hardy in goal for the women, and then also for Keenan Carroll for the men. Is that something? How difficult is it for a goalkeeper like that just to put a game like that aside and bounce back and move on?
Well, that's the nature of a goalkeeper. You're going to have games where you shut people out, and then you're going to have games where the shooters are just very hot and everything gets by you. And it's just a game-to-game situation where you have to not worry about what's happened last game and not worry about what could happen in the next game. You just focus on the present.
Because we were talking about, how good Keenan Carroll's been this year, holding down powerhouses like W&L and Roanoke College and Bridgewater, and limiting them to the point where they were really struggling in all cases to get some goals into the second half, and then to have St. Mary's just come up with a first half like that, just totally unexpected.
Well, we don't want to make a lot of excuses because St. Mary's obviously has a very good team, or else they wouldn't have scored the 7 goals. But Keenan Carroll did go on Monday to urgent care to get some lungs checked out. Bronchitis may be setting in on him, so we don't know how active he was in that game. But again, all teams go through this, and it's not just the Knights. There's other teams that have the injuries and illnesses that are mounting up, and it's just
most coaches, maybe even you when you were coaching, Mike, you just never know when you go on the road how the team's going to react.
That's true. You don't, and they did everything they could to let both teams be as comfortable as possible. They left the night before, got a good night's sleep in some hotel rooms, and didn't have to get up early and travel, and it just didn't pan out for them in this first conference game.
Well, as always, opening minutes of this one today between Southern Virginia and Barton. Each team trying to see exactly what they want to do with the ball.
See, one of the big changes is they put Sorensen in the back line of defense as a mid defender.
And the Knights were trying to save that from going out. McFadden. But it'll be a throw-in for Barton.
And this is where the Knights really can't afford to let Barton Bulldogs play too much with the ball down in their offensive end. You see Sorensen trying to just clear it out. Cottle with the ball. Nice move.
And excellent moves downfield to get the clear and nearly to take it the distance. Victoria Slade battling for it. Gets it over to Cottle. Over to McFadden now on the right side.
Just slipped out. But with this 4-3-3, what it does is it puts more players up front to attack. We used to see either Monson or Gamby be the lone person out on the point and no one really around to help build up any type of attack. Now with this 4-3-3, we can see the attack building up a little bit better and keep the defense spread out a little bit more.
Didn't seem to work okay in the Avery game where Jamila got a couple of breakaways, but I know you can't really rely on those. Hardy coming out a long way for that ball.
And that's just, again, freshman exuberance, not really having a tremendous plan on what she wants to do with the ball.
And the ball goes over to the right.
But it was nice to see Carmel dive for the ball there to make sure that there was no angle that the ball could get in. We can see some of the Greensboro men's team looking over the fence.
See their bus pulled up. It's been a very busy sports fall, obviously, Mike. We've had soccer last weekend. Football, of course, losing at Salisbury, and they've got another tough one coming up on this Saturday, playing on the road at Wesley, obviously a top 5 team, before they finally get back home for homecoming. Just about a week and a half away, coming up October the 10th against Montclair State. And then, of course, volleyball has been hot and heavy as far as the volleyball schedule has been concerned here in the last few days.
Yeah, all the conference games that the Knights are playing, whether it be football, soccer, or volleyball, there always seems to be meeting up with a top-ranked team. Last night, the volleyball team met up with Christopher Newport, who was ranked number 3 in the nation, only losing to the number 1 and the number 2 team in the nation. Men's soccer, shot on goal. Hardy there to take care of it. So you said about the football team going to play Wesley, a top 5 team there at Wesley, which is always hard to do.
Right.
And then the soccer teams, they've been able to play some really tough teams, but with Christopher Newport coming up on their schedule, there's another top-ranked, top 10 team.
Well, I know a lot of focus in football is on Wesley and to a lesser degree, I suppose, Rowan. But as we're seeing in the New Jersey Athletic Conference, there are no soft spots. There are a lot of talented teams out there. We saw Frostburg a few weeks ago. Of course, Salisbury last weekend, and other teams still to come. I mean, Keene's got a good ball club. William Patterson. Just a lot of teams. Christopher Newport, of course, played Wesley tough a few weeks back.
Yeah, there's no easy schedule that the Knights have.
And it's the same way for soccer, too.
Yeah, the conference that they're in, whether it be the NJAC or the CAC, is just one that's built on a tradition of solid play.
Yeah, we'll check the soccer records, which we did, of course, last week. But there are a lot of good non-conference records when you look at some of these soccer teams, both men and women's soccer in the Capital Conference. And St. Mary's, the team that the Knights ran into on Saturday, the St. Mary's, of course, has a good record, not one of the best for men's and women's soccer, at least in the non-conference, but perhaps folks will find out this season that St. Mary's might be one of the top teams in the Capital Conference.
And right now, the standings for the Capital Conference is in the conference season itself. Salisbury's 2-0, Mary Washington 1-0, Frostburg 1-0, St. Mary's 1-0, York 1-0, and Christopher Newport 0-1.
Mm-hmm.
Wesley 0-1, Southern Virginia 0-1, Penn State Harrisburg 0-1, and Marymount 0-2.
And of course, Salisbury will be the opposition coming up this weekend on Saturday.
And that's who beat Christopher Newport, which they were picked to be the top team in the conference this year. So Salisbury has a surprise for everybody.
So that's women's soccer.
Women's soccer.
And again, the men will be taking on Greensboro today, non-conference. Then Salisbury on Saturday in conference action, followed, I believe, by Mary Washington.
On the men's side, each team has only played one conference game, so the ones that are 1-0 are Christopher Newport, Frostburg. Oh,
good pass, easy
offside
shot. Boy, defenders kind of let that player from Barton just kind of get in behind him, Mike, and nothing Carmel Hardy could do about that shot.
Yeah, fortunately for the Knights, they stepped up and got her trapped offsides before the shot was being able to take. So you have Christopher Newport, Frostburg State, Salisbury, St. Mary's, and Wesley all at 1-0. And then Mary Washington, Marymount, Penn State Harrisburg, York, and Southern Virginia at 0-1.
Long kick downfield. Barton able to make the play, try to corral the ball, but the Knights battling for it as well. As Patillo was right there. Good move towards the middle of the field, but Ann Powell couldn't get the shot off.
Again, with this new change to the 4-3-3 system that they're running now, a little bit more build-up. Should be able to see better shots taken on goal.
Ann Powell's actually had a pretty good season and has been able to stay healthy too.
She has, and very versatile. We see her as a defender,
right,
always in the back, but every once in a while she'll take a run up and bring the soccer ball up with her and try to attack the goal. And with her athleticism and speed, she's a real find for the Knights this year.
Well, you just hope they get Gamby, Monson, a couple of players like that back on a full-time basis here maybe in the next couple of weeks, because again, you look at towards the end of October and soccer is done and you're into the conference tournament already.
Yeah, and you can't afford really to go down 0-2. This next conference game that they play is going to be so important.
Pulliam was battling for the ball on with Cottle, and they awarded to Barton.
And really, so far, we've played about 10 minutes. No real pressure put on the goalkeeper, which is nice to see that the defense of the Knights have really stepped up and playing very good.
The only real pressure came, of course, and that was an offsides on Barton. Kick over to the left.
a goal.
Goal for Barton. So the opposition draws first blood here, Mike, and this is just a good shot that Carmelo Hardy had a real tough time trying to stop.
Yeah, the Barton player was able to put a lot of pace on the ball there, and nobody was really in the way to kind of give her any kind of distraction.
A couple of shots on goal now for Barton. So far, no shots on goal for the Knights. And you wonder, with the injuries they've suffered and how strapped they are from a roster standpoint, what kind of offense the Knights will be able to manufacture against a talented team here like Barton.
Again, playing the new system, it's all about trying to learn, again, where your players are going to be. You're playing beside someone new for the most part right now, and it's just, again, trying to become better for the game that's coming up on Saturday.
And explain, Mike, if you can, about the change for the system. Was that, I guess, at least to a certain degree, put together because of the injuries, or was that something where the Knights said, well, the old system just isn't working like we were hoping, let's try something new?
I think Coach Garrock just saw that some of the players weren't fitting into some of the spots that he had hoped that they would grow into, and they weren't growing into them as fast as possible. I'm sure that if he can keep the core of this team together, he would go back to the system that he was using. But this 4-3-3 is a lot of the same thing that they ran in these teams or girls have run in high school, so they're very familiar with it and very comfortable with it. And it's just a good coaching change by Coach Garrock to see that things weren't going the way that he wanted them to do, and let's try something new and get something more familiar to some of these girls.
Now, there's only 3 seniors by my count on the roster. It was Zoe Bradshaw, Barlow, and also Blackham.
Yeah,
so a lot of returning talent.
Yeah, very young team, and like I said, if he can keep them together for another year or two, this team can actually grow into something that will be one of the perennial top players in the Capital Conference.
Of course, Rachel Miller, the goalkeeper, out for the year, hurt in the first game. Just a freshman, though.
Yeah, and until she got hurt, we were both very impressed with the way that she was playing. So hopefully she comes back next year with no fear and very aggressive like she was in the first part of the game before she got injured.
I guess it's irrelevant, Mike, but you do wonder if you have Miller for a full season this year, if Gamby and Monson stay healthy, basically how this team is instead of 3-6. Struggling after that game at St. Mary's, would we be in a completely different situation here?
Yeah, you can play the what-if game all you want, but every coach has to go through that. It's not what if, it's what is right now.
And a header into the net for the opposition Barton, as they were able to get a player right to the left of the goalkeeper. Nice reception by that player, and then the header into the net, Mike, and now suddenly it is 2-0 Barton, and they've scored a couple of goals here in a short amount of time.
And that's been the problem that the Knights have had, is when they give up goals, it's not just one goal and then wait for a while and another goal. The goals that they've given up have come in bunches. And
very tough that time again for Hardy. Just another player from Barton kind of getting set up right in front of the goal.
Yeah, and really, Carmel, instead of trying to catch the ball, should have just tried to punch it out as far as she could. Get the ball out of harm's way and let her defense recover and recoup.
Nice play by Powell to try to grab it, but pass over to Cottle, gets away and goes over to Barton. So Barton has a couple of goals now here in a short amount of time, and suddenly it's 2-0 Barton. And needless to say, Mike, Barton's had the dominance, not just with the goals too now, but shots on goal. And in fact, they've really controlled the ball and had it in the Southern Virginia defensive end of the field most of this first half.
Yeah, and unfortunately for the Knights, the Barton Bulldogs are a very veteran team. Again, playing in a very tough conference, a Division II conference, the Carolinas conference down in South Carolina, North Carolina, and a little bit into Georgia. And it's just something that a full-strength team that the Knights would have would be very competitive with them. Right now, it's just can we just keep the patchwork up enough to limit any more goals?
Knights are trying to put together a little offensive flurry here, but just really can't make the passing connections. And as a result, Barton, has possession again with a 2-0 lead. Long shot taken and sails into the goal by Lane Brooks. A 5'8" sophomore sailing that ball past Hardy, and suddenly 3-0 Barton.
And again, within the last 5 minutes, 3 goals. And like I said, when you
And
start
Brooks took that shot authoritatively.
Yeah, these are some of the hardest shots that we've seen so far this season. And these Barton Bulldogs, they're getting and striking the ball very well.
So out of nowhere, we had a 0-0 game for the first 10 minutes, Mike, and then it just seems like in the last 5-6 minutes here, Barton has come up with a flurry of goals, 3 to be exact, and now the Knights are trying to go onto the offensive end with McFadden, and they're trying to get their first shot on goal, but lose possession of it.
Well, and we can talk about the differences between Division II and Division III also. Coach Gryrock gets to have his team with him for about 9 days before their first game to try to get everything in and get everybody together. Division II players, they can stay all summer long and their coaches can work with them all summer long. And then as soon as they can have them come back as early as 3 weeks before their first game and get things going. So there's a little bit of discrepancy about the time of preparation also between the two divisions.
Well, all these sports have been running into tough opposition recently, including women's volleyball running into Shawan here in the last week or so.
Yeah, Shawan, Virginia State also, two tough Division II schools.
Yep.
And sometimes you just run out of options of teams to play. Everybody has their schedules filled up a little bit earlier than what you have, or maybe a team drops you, and so you have to find the next available, and sometimes it's just a step up in competition. They need to clear the ball quickly.
Barton got an opportunity from the left side. Good defense by the Knights, by Slade, to try to work the ball free from the Barton player. Towards the middle, though, the Knights trying to get rid of it. It is Sorensen with it. Hawked by a couple of Barton players. Gets it over to Powell, but she loses it.
And you can tell that the Knights are kind of beaten up right now. We see players playing in different positions, a little bit, about a half a step slower than the opposition as they go down the field, and all this takes a toll on your team as you go through and you get people injured and you're trying to move around from one position to the next.
And you wonder who's available on the bench to come in for substitution purposes, either here in the first half or second half.
Nice job again, Am Powell able to get back and swipe the ball away.
For those who just joined us, Mike, this game was 0-0 for a good solid 10 minutes of this first half, and then Barton just exploded for 3 goals.
Yeah, in the 13th, 14th, and 15th minute.
Second goal was a header, and that third goal, an explosive shot from what, about maybe 30 yards out?
30 yards out. And there was, like I said, all the goals have been struck very authoritatively. No excuse me goals. These are rockets that are coming off these young ladies' feet.
Yeah, first couple of goals came right directly in front of the goalkeeper, Hardy. That third goal from, again, 30 yards away. Ball that sailed over her head into the goal. And the Knights, Mike, still looking to really put together their offense, looking for their first shot on goal today in this first half.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of shots from a distance have an arc on them. That shot that was taken by Barton, and it was Lane Brooks that took the shot. That was just a rocket.
And she decided right away, that far out towards the middle, that she was going to take that shot, and she perfectly put it over the head of the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Not an easy shot to do. I mean, got a lot of room to go over the goalkeeper if you can just time it right and sail it right.
And there was no real sailing on that one. She just wound up and knocked it right over the head of the goalie.
Again, we're talking about a goalie who's 5'7" too.
But again, these are just the plays that the Knights need to look back on and grow and learn from.
The only problem, Mike, is the lack of preparation time they're going to have after this game getting ready for Saturday in Salisbury.
And that's why it's so important that no one else gets hurt in this game.
You're only talking about a couple of days in between as Powell's knocked to the turf. Only a couple of days in between the game of Salisbury, and right after that Salisbury game, you turn right around and play another home game on Tuesday.
Yeah, and there's only really 1 day of preparation for that because according to NCAA rules, you have to have 1 day off every 7 days.
Yep.
The Knights elect to take Sundays off, and so they come back after the game with Salisbury, and you're ready to go again.
That's right. Now trying to take a possession, and Sorensen does that.
Laid out for McFadden just a little bit too far.
Yeah, the Knights are just having a hard time, Mike, right now connecting on their passes to try to put together an offensive push.
And a lot of that has to do with the new players that are out there playing in different positions and playing beside someone new. You really don't have any type of continuity or cohesion. But as the Knights continue to play this system and play together in this formation, we can see those passes become much better.
Jackie Bartlett, you see her, one of the 3 seniors out there battling for the ball.
And we'll notice that Jackie has a face mask on. She broke her nose in one of the earlier games. And just amazing that she's back this early.
Up the right side, shot knocked away temporarily by Hardy, and she corrals it with a couple of defenders helping her out.
Yeah, Slade was back, and also Hatchett was back to help dissuade anybody coming through the middle for a rebound shot.
Well, it looked like a Barton player had actually fallen to the turf and was not able to get towards where the rebound was.
Sometimes it's better to be lucky than to be good, and the Knights need both right now. They need to be good and to be lucky.
Well, it's a real salute you just mentioned for some of these Knights, not only as a team battling through all these injuries, but for some of these players playing with these injuries.
Yeah, it's amazing, some of the perseverance and the willpower to get out there day after day after day. And there's a difference between being hurt and being injured. Every soccer player out there is a little hurt. Injury is when you have to see the doctor, get some time off, come back and do some rehab. And we'll notice that we have players out there with knee braces on from ACL tears. We have Jackie Barlow out there with the face mask on from the broken nose. Savannah Urias trying to come back from a concussion. We talked about Jamila Gambi, who's trying to get cleared for her concussion.
Blackham has been out.
Blackham's been out with a concussion.
Yep.
So it's anybody that says that soccer is not
Maybe we should just try to put together a list of the players who have not been injured or banged up at all this year.
That would be a much shorter list.
And of course, even with that list, you might not get them totally correct. I'm thinking Ann Powell, but who knows?
Yeah. Again, there's a difference between playing injured and playing hurt. And like I said, I know all of them are hurt right now because you can't go through this brutal schedule that they have and not have a few little aches and pains someplace.
You know, we wondered a few weeks ago who might be the backup goalkeeper if Hardy were to go down or need to be replaced, and we saw that on Saturday in the second half. They brought in a new player, Emily Wimmuth, to go ahead and basically take over in the second half for Hardy.
Yeah, and she was supposed to try out with the team earlier on in the season. Felt like her academic schedule may be a little bit too much for her.
Just a freshman,
and they talked to her again, and she indicated that she would like to come back and try one more time. And so they put her out on the field, tried her out, took her up to St. Mary's and put her in the game.
And we'll see if we maybe see her at all here in the second half, just if for no other reason, to spell Hardy.
Yeah, and to get some type of play out of her would be great because it's just experience right now. And that's what the Knights lack is the experience that most other teams that they play have.
Barton back on the attack. Knights trying to clear again.
Up to Ann Powell, and here we see just long strides by Ann.
Can't find a teammate, though. Ball right back to Barton. Knights still looking for that first shot on goal. Kick towards the left. Past the goal.
And again, one of the biggest changes that we see out there is Sierra Sorensen playing on defense and not as a midfielder.
And I know you've talked repeatedly since the season began last year, looking at what a great playmaker she was. So they've taken her out of that role more or less, and at least today placed her back in the defensive line.
Yeah, and again, injuries play a big part in what you're able to do, and Savannah is a really good player. Now it looks like they moved her up to midfield as they bring Alicia Blackham in to spell her a little bit on that as a defenseman. But, I think Sorensen has really put a lot of pressure on herself to try to perform at a level that she was at last year. And sometimes when you pressure yourself like that, your performance suffers a little bit. So this also, moving her to the defense, might free her up a little bit.
Well, some of the expectations based on last year aren't going to obviously happen. Tatiana Monson, 17 goals last year, but maybe because of the injuries and certainly because of drawing the defensive attention of the other team, obviously she's not going to be able to match her numbers from last year.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. The Knights as a team last year served notice a lot to the Capital Conference that they were a formidable force to be reckoned with, and now teams are really expecting them and preparing for them a little bit better.
Under the 20-minute mark, Barton has kind of settled into this 3-0 lead. They now have 6 shots on goal. Still no shots on goal for the Knights.
No, we haven't seen them be able to build up anything to really put pressure on the goalie of Barton. Again, a lot of new players in different positions. We see Jackie Barlow, who's usually a midfielder, playing up in the front line as a striker now, and a lot of players out of place.
Barton trying to go back on the attack again. Hatchett racing back for the ball.
It looks like it'll be the first corner kick of the day for either team. So we'll see how the Knights defend this. And again, Hardy, anytime she goes out, instead of trying to catch it, just go ahead and punch it out, because we saw how lethal Barton is in the air by already putting one in off the head.
Good effort by the Knights to try to get that away from the goal. Barlow tries to battle for it. Barton keeps it in, shoots, and off to the right of the goal. Had a lot of rain, of course, yesterday, Mike, but not a field concern. Got a lot of rain in the forecast Thursday and Friday, too, into Saturday.
Yeah, it's supposed to.
In fact, they might be playing in the rain on Saturday.
The Knights were able to pick the one day that we're not going to have torrential downpours to get these 2 games in, which is really nice for the teams. I know they were worried about it because there was some flash flooding that was happening around, and didn't know if teams were going to be able to make it.
And supposedly they say that. Again, Saturdays might actually get more rain than we saw on Tuesday, which is hard to believe.
Yeah, we've gone without rain for a long time. It's good to see the rain. We just don't need it all at one time.
That and the ground's so hard because of the lack of rain, everything just kind of runs off, which is another reason you get flooding. Well, 3-0 Barton on top here.
And again, the Knights defense has settled down, but being prone to giving up multiple goals in a few minutes has really put them in a hole that is going to be very hard to dig out of.
Good passing by the Knights to work it upfield to Barlow. Just no one else for her to pass it to. McFadden right there, they'd love to get her involved in the offense like she was a couple of weeks ago in that Averett game where she scored a couple of goals.
Again, they're testing the waters with different people in different positions and trying to figure out what's going to be best for us for the rest of the season.
Winterton trying to get it to Barlow. Barlow runs into Winterton.
Long kick downfield.
Tough enough when you're getting hit by the opposition to get hit by your own teammate accidentally.
Well, and so far we've played about
almost 30 minutes.
30 minutes now, and no substitute. Well, one substitution for the Knights, and that was Alicia Blackham coming in. So we're starting to see that this might be the lineup that Coach Graurock plays with.
At least for the first half. And again, we mentioned just not sure how many players are in a position to come in as a substitute.
Could be fewer players that aren't injured than are. And really, the formation that the Knights are playing seems to be working better for them than the formation previously that was being used. They just don't have the athletes that they had previous to really run this and put a lot of pressure on the Bulldogs.
That and the fact they're still trying to adjust to this new system, and obviously trying to adjust to the combination they've got out there because of the injuries.
Well, in order to be on the team, you have to have a certain skill level. So all these young ladies are skilled, but we're talking about some quickness that they're missing in Gamby and in Monson that a lot of teams really can't prepare for, and it's to the Knights' advantage when they have them out there.
Well, not every team comes in with a roster of 20 potential, I guess you could say, playmakers or goal scorers.
Yeah. And when you have to move people around, you get them out of their comfort zone. You know, they're going to do whatever they can to help the team out, but again, they are out of their comfort zone and they're worried about making mistakes, and so they may not play to the best of their ability.
I'm not sure about Zoe Bradshaw's status.
She's out also.
Okay,
she's
injured.
On crutches too.
We know that she's been banged up throughout the year. In fact, going back to last spring in lacrosse, suffered some bruises too in that lacrosse season last spring.
Yeah, she's banged up to the point where we know for a fact she won't be coming in as
she could be another potential playmaker.
Yep. And again, there's no way that Coach Graurock could have foreseen this. He brought in 30 or 32 young ladies who he thought he had the depth to really do some wonderful things in the Capital Conference, and they still have all the possibility in the world to do that, but he could never have foreseen the injuries that have taken place so far.
Then, of course, as we talked about, Mike, the soccer schedule is so condensed, so short. All happens in basically less than 2 months, where you just don't get a lot of time, like maybe a 6-month regular season baseball season, to suffer injuries in the first couple of months and bring players back later in the season.
Yeah, it's very tough. And so now you got to wonder, if you're Coach Graurock and you had 30-some young ladies on your roster this year and still has suffering like you are through the injuries, do you bring in 40 next year and chance it that injuries may happen again, or maybe no one gets injured and then you have some young ladies that are very disgruntled because of lack of playing time?
I don't know if it varies with coaching philosophy. Do you kind of lay back a little bit with your non-conference games, either as to the intensity or perhaps your star players or your top players, I guess? Do you play them all these minutes in these non-conference games?
Yeah, that's going to be an adjustment he's going to look at also, because in the last 2 years he's seen some of these injuries come up, and you can't say that it's because of the toughness of the schedule that he's played. But
and some, like the injury to the goalkeeper, Rachel Miller, just the freak incidents. Things that rarely happen, things that probably should not happen.
Yes. But also the wear and tear, like you said, on some of the players and playing so many minutes against such huge competition. We talked about them playing Lynchburg, who's ranked number 1 for women's soccer, or last year was the national champions. So
playing Lynchburg and Roanoke back to back.
Yeah, and again, there's that mentality and philosophy of my players can only get better by playing this tough competition, and we applaud that. Some coaches think the opposite, though. I want to play against lesser competition so we can get our system in place and everybody's very comfortable and I get to play a lot of people. I'm sure Coach Graurock will revisit those two thoughts.
You've got that debate also, not just about how tough the teams are you have on your schedule, but how many games you play in a certain amount of days.
Well, like you said, the season is very condensed. They have to get 19 games in, and so once you get to your conference season, you know that you can only play twice a week. And so you have to get those other games in at the beginning of the year, and it's just something that maybe the NCAA should be looking at and visiting and maybe make the season a little bit longer than what it is, so these teams have a chance to spread out the games and not have 3, 4, 5 games in a
which
week.
direction would you go? Maybe have some games in late August, or would you extend the season, try to extend the soccer season, obviously, even with the postseason, further into perhaps November, I guess?
No, I think coming in and starting games a little bit earlier would be better for the teams. One, you don't have to worry about classes, so they're not missing classes there.
So what are we talking, mid-August?
I would say get them into camp the 1st of August, and then start your games in the middle of August.
Okay, the only thing you have to worry about generally there is 98-degree temperatures.
That's true, but we have lights. They can play at night.
Then perhaps get to the point maybe where you start the capital play instead of maybe that last Saturday in September, maybe a week or two earlier.
Yeah, again, just move things up a little bit. It might be better for the welfare of the players.
Would you be a big proponent of mixing capital play into the non-conference? Because obviously you got the first capital game, your final non-conference, and then nothing but capital games. Would you like to mix and match conference and non-conference games at all, a little bit more?
I think most coaches would like just to have their conference games right in a row. That way you don't have to worry about it, and your scouting becomes a whole lot easier. It's just something that you can prepare for better. Your team gets prepared for better, and you don't have to worry about playing up and down all the time. You know exactly what's happening, and you create those rivalries that makes college sports great.
Yeah, I'm wondering how many coaches who have had their players impacted by injuries really have the golden solution.
I'm sure they all have their solutions for it, and again, that's something that they're able to voice to their conference chairman. The chairmen are able to take that to the NCAA, and that's how we get different rules that changed and playing seasons change. So it's something that I'm sure that they're experimenting with and talking about. I know they're at least thinking about bringing in players earlier to get acclimated to weather at different parts of the country a little bit earlier than what it is now.
So Mike, things have really settled down since Barton got that 3-goal flurry back around the 30-35 minute mark. Barton's kind of laid back a little bit on offense, and of course Southern Virginia still looking for that first shot on goal here in the first half.
Yeah, again, the snake that bites the Knights is that flurry of goals. They'll not give up just one and then play very solidly. It's usually 2 or 3 goals that they give up and then settle down and play like we've seen them play for the last 20 minutes.
Mentioned future webcast. We've got men's soccer coming up after this one against Greensboro. Doubleheader today. And I believe Saturday, Mike, will have a doubleheader, but we'll have just a webcast the first game on Saturday, the men's soccer game, as Barton tries to get an opening here. Nice stop, but a great defensive play by the Knights to poke that ball away.
Well, I think we'll have the women's game on Friday, next Friday, because it's homecoming. So we'll have the women's game on Friday. Then they'll have a football game on Saturday, and then directly after the football game, it'll be a men's soccer game. So
but doubleheader coming up on Salisbury on Saturday against Salisbury, and we'll have, I believe, just the first game webcast, the men's game. But even though they'll have a doubleheader here at the fields at Southern Virginia on Saturday. And as you mentioned, the following weekend, homecoming weekend, very busy weekend.
Nice job of the Knights trying to get the ball out of the front of the goal.
Good defensive play, too, there by Cammie Miller to knock that shot away.
Again, another dangerous corner kick. We've seen several of the corners go in for the opposition of the Knights, and I know that's something they've worked on in practice a lot to try to limit the opportunities that the opposition has in front of the goal, especially off the corners.
Kick from the right side, and Hardy's able to grab that one. Sprints out a long way to get that pass away to Sorensen.
Again, Miller just trying to clear the ball out, throw in for the Bulldogs, and able to reset the defense. Very smart play.
See the tennis courts in the background. They had some action, I believe, over the weekend. Little fall action going on, not much, before they get ready for, obviously, for the big season next spring, Mike.
Yeah, unfortunately they weren't able to go to the ITA Just some things happened with weather related that they weren't able to do anything. Coach Dryden and Coach Snelson are hoping that no rain happens, as they're both supposed to play on Thursday.
But a majority of the schedule obviously will be coming up next spring.
Yeah, the spring is
and then that's a whole new different weather concern. Late winter into spring, as that shot just sails over the bar, a header, and knocked away by the goalkeeper Hardy and corralled by Comrell.
We've seen several shots in the past bounce off of the upper crossbar and then the uprights.
Hardy doing a good job, too, corralling some of those loose balls.
Without getting back into the goal herself, because no matter where the ball is, if it crosses the plane, it's a goal, even if Carmel has the ball in her hands.
And that could be, you wonder how often that happens, where a goalkeeper corrals the ball and with all the players around her just forgets exactly where she is on the field and takes one step back.
It's probably more common than what we would like to believe, is because it's just sitting here looking like, oh, there's no way that they could let the ball go in and step back and have the ball be counted as a goal. But I'm sure that there's some times that has happened.
Attempted a header there by Barton, but knocked away by the Knights.
Again, a lot of play in Barton's offensive end of the field. Knights hadn't been able to take the ball past midfield very much and keep it past midfield very much for this first half.
Yeah, I'm thinking we played about 40 minutes, Mike, and what do you think about 30, 35 minutes have been played on this end of the field?
I'd say you're really close with the 35
Again,
minutes.
just look at the scoreboard. No shots on goal so far for the Knights. They've just not had a lot of opportunities near the Barton goal.
And unfortunately for the Knights, again, being very shorthanded, not able to put out their regular rotation of players, and players in there trying to play in different positions. Oh, as we see a player getting just taken out, and that's Monson in to play.
Yeah, Monson's in there.
So her MRI must be okay and cleared her to play a few minutes.
Although you don't want to see that.
No, that's not what you want to see, is her getting taken out on a slide tackle.
Good to see Tatiana out there, though. And you wonder, provided obviously she stays out there, just how many minutes she might get today. Maybe just kind of a leg stretcher type of thing.
I think that her minutes will be very limited. Again, the MRI must have shown that there's nothing structurally wrong with the knee, and so they're going to put her on some limited minutes. This is not a game for her to really go all out in, because the conference.
When do you anticipate Gamby might be ready to go from that concussion?
That's a great question, because everybody reacts to concussions differently. The trainers put them through a pre-concussion test at the very beginning of the year, and they have to go through that protocol again. And until they can answer the questions the same way they answered them at the beginning of the year, and also have no symptoms as far as headaches or nausea for at least 24 hours, the trainers won't clear them for any type of contact.
So we'll see if Jamila might play in the game Saturday against Salisbury or not.
Yeah, and if she does, I'm sure they'll start with limited minutes and probably not the whole game. And it depends on when she gets cleared. If she gets cleared tomorrow, then she'll have some practice time underneath her belt.
Hardy comes in before the Barton player can get a shot off. Closing in on the 2-minute mark before halftime. Barton scored 3 goals. There were no goals scored in the first 10 minutes. Barton scored 3 goals in a 4 or 5 minute flurry. And since the 30-minute mark, no goals have been scored, and the Knights are again still looking for their first shot on goal. Monson with a little break, but the pass a little too far. Barton's offense is kind of scaled back, Mike, since they got those 3 goals in the 30 to 35-minute mark.
Well, you don't want to do anything to risk giving up unwarranted goals, and so Barton, again, being very, not cautious, but being very smart in the way that they play. And even though they've been playing down in the defensive end for so long, again, just a stretch of about 5 minutes where the Knights didn't play very well, gave up the 3 goals. But other than that, they've done extremely well in limiting Barton a lot of chances in front of the goal.
And here recently, being able to make some passes and control the ball a little bit better. Barlow's got it right now.
Tried to slide it in there to McFadden, and again, we saw McFadden do some fantastic things against Averett, and trying to get her right now and get Monson on the same page may be the key that the Knights need in going into the second half.
Clock ticking down. You see there, 8 shots on goal so far this first half for Barton. No shots on goal for the Knights. They trail here 3-0 with just 14 seconds to go. And we're going to go to halftime with a 3-goal lead for Barton. So we are at halftime here from the fields at Southern Virginia University with Barton ahead, Mike, 3-0.
Yeah, again, just a 5-minute flurry of goals for the Bulldogs from Barton College. Put the Knights back on their heels. Other than that, defensively, the Knights have played really well. The offense hasn't been able to catch up yet to the defense, and that seems to be a theme across the board with the Knights as far as all athletic teams.
So again, your halftime score here, it is Barton 3 and Southern Virginia nothing. We'll take a little break, bring you back for the second half action in just a few minutes, so stay with us. And welcome back to the fields at Southern Virginia University. Jim Bresnahan, Mike Harmon getting ready to bring you second half action of this women's soccer game between Southern Virginia and Barton. Halftime score, Barton 3, Southern Virginia nothing. You look at the stats, Mike, and look right to the shots by period. You'll see the domination by Barton in addition to the shots on goal.
Yeah, 17-1 shots by Barton, and it's just well, there's nothing really to say, but Barton had the ball more than the Knights ever did. Also, there was no saves by the Barton goalkeeper because there was no real pressure put on her to have any saves. Looking at the Knights now coming out, we see Savannah Uriah out there coming back from concussion type symptoms, so obviously she's good to go, and they're going to give her some time in goal now.
Carmel Hardy was, of course, the goalkeeper in the first half. We saw Tatiana Matson come onto the field for at least a few minutes in that first half.
Well, the Knights will start with the ball this second half, and hopefully we can see them build up and start to put some pressure on the defense of the Bulldogs, and especially make some attacks on goal and see what the goalkeeper will do with pressure put on her.
Knights had just the one shot in the first half, taken by Ann Powell. No shots on goal. I believe Barton had 8 shots on goal in that first half, and of course 3 goals. And they got those 3 goals, Mike, in about a 5-minute span, around the 35 to 30 minute mark of the first half.
Yeah, with 10 minutes gone in the game, that was the first goal by Barton. Then at the 12:55 mark, the second goal, and then the 14:31 mark was the third goal.
So what kind of second half will we be looking at for the Knights? Will they just want to kind of survive this game, not necessarily make the comeback, or really hoping to make the comeback, obviously, but the goal would be, I would imagine, to make sure you don't have any more injuries heading into the Salisbury game, next Capital game coming up on Saturday.
Yeah, that's the first goal. The second goal is trying to work this offense to get some shots on goal. And the third goal is let's limit Barton's opportunities to put pressure on Savannah Uriah.
Because you go back to that 3-goal flurry in 5 minutes back in the first half. The second goal was a header right in front of the goalkeeper, Hardy. The first goal came off, I believe, a corner kick, and the third goal was a booming shot from about 20 yards away.
Yeah, and
30 if you count, obviously, the goal.
All the shots, a lot of pace put on it. So these aren't just some trickle-in goals. These are actual goals that Barton manufactured and put a lot of pace on the shots.
And again, it's the first game of a doubleheader. We will have the second game coming up following this game. Following about a 30-minute break in between games, we'll have the men taking on Greensboro, and they'll be facing a pretty tough opponent too.
Yeah, and it doesn't get any easier as we go into the second game of this evening. Again, the guys are battling some injuries also. They're coming off of a loss this weekend that they would rather not think about anymore and move on from. And Greensboro, even though they've only won 2 games, have played some really stiff competition, played Washington and Lee really close, played Christopher Newport really close. So
and beat Guilford.
So we're going to look and see a really good team, and if the Knights aren't on top of their game, we could see some goals being scored against the Knights very early in the game.
Cottle tries to get it over to a teammate.
Nakamoto there.
Powell will do the throw in. Over to Cottle. Knights trying to get their first shot on goal today. Just one shot in that first half, taken by Ann Powell.
Oh, nice step up by Cami Miller there to take the ball away. Just not able to find Sierra Sorensen.
Fortunately for the Knights in that first half, no injuries incurred. Although we did see Tatiana Monson go to the turf pretty hard.
And I'm pretty sure that the trainer and the coaching staff hearts went straight up into their throat when they saw that, but Tatiana jumped straight up and was able to go ahead and keep on going for the last 5 minutes of the game, of the first half.
Not a busy day whatsoever for the goalkeeper today, at least in the first half for Barton.
No, and the Knights would really like to change that. And, we've seen some flashes of the Knights being able to put this formation to use to their advantage. It's just going to take some time for them to really settle in and actually get to know the players that are playing beside you and what they like and where they like the ball.
Well, they controlled the ball in the last 10 minutes much more than they did in the opening 15, 20 minutes, and really kept Barton out of their end in the final 10 minutes of the first half.
Yeah, again, being able to play against competition that's not your own teammates, it takes a little while to gel, especially with new players and new positions. Like I said, flashes of brilliance. We just need to see those flashes turn into long stretches. See Nakamoto try to head the ball ahead of her.
Barton's defender getting back. Nakamoto is spilled to the turf. And Barton tries to work it upfield. Nakamoto kind of slow to get up there, Mike.
Yeah, she took a pretty hard spill on her knees. That turf is not as forgiving as people would like to think. Still very hard surface to fall down on, and really
she's still hobbling a little bit.
Yeah, and it's really a carpet, and so you can get those carpet burns, and if you've never had one, those sting for a long time, and then with the rubber pellets, they can get embedded into that wound, and that just makes walking and running around a little bit more difficult.
So what's tougher to shake off, the carpet burns or the cramps?
Well,
those leg cramps can be pretty nasty too.
They can be, and hopefully you can keep those leg cramps from coming by staying hydrated during the game. Once you go down on this turf,
although we have seen some cramps in really the last couple of games, last 2 weeks. Obviously, it's been a little hotter. We've had some cool weather here recently.
Dangerous time for the Knights now as Barton's trying to work it into the box. Miller's able to poke it out.
Sorensen clears.
To clear it.
Yep.
And we have seen that the Knights have been able to clear the ball on the sides now, not taking the middle third of the field to clear out, but trying to clear the ball down to either the left side third or the right side third, which has really helped them in not letting Barton come in with a counterattack.
And something else we didn't see a lot of in that first half, too, was corner kicks. No corner kicks for the Knights, just 2 for Barton.
Yeah, and that's because the Knights weren't able to mount a lot of pressure against the goalkeeper and put any shots on goal.
Sorensen trying to get it to a teammate, goes to a Barton player instead.
Again, a lot of play down in the defensive end for the Knights, but no pressure has been put so far on Savannah Uri. Oh, a little shot over the top.
Hatch it back there defensively. Uri battling for it, runs into the Barton player. Centering pass, kicked away by the defensive player for the Knights.
Good job by Lauren Hatchett, able to get back there. Saw Savannah going out trying to punch the ball away as the ball just kicked over to her, able to clear it down the field. Nice job.
Barton trying to go back on the attack. Uri up there to get the ball. Knights came in with a record of 3-6 on the season. Barton 3-2-2.
And with all the players out, you wonder how the Knights have even won those 3 games. It's just a great feat that they were able to pull off winning those games with all the players that they've had injured at one time or the other.
And they were all 1-goal victories, 4-3 over Avert, and the other 2 were 1-0 victories over both Randolph and Emory and Henry. The men, will be seeing them, of course, in Game 2 against Greensboro. They've got a record of 1-8 on the season, facing a Greensboro team with a record of 2-4-1. But as we mentioned in the women's pregame show, Greensboro 2-4-1. That's still a pretty good ball club. They play a pretty tough schedule.
Yeah, they lost to at Washington and Lee 2-0. They lost to Lynchburg 2-0. They lost to Christopher Newport 1-2. So they're playing a very tough schedule, and some teams that we've seen the Knights struggle with again, and such as Roanoke College, and lost to them 3-0. So even though they don't come in with the greatest record, they've played a very tough schedule. And a lot of time that the ball is being kept on the Knights end of the
Uriah
field.
comes up to make the play with 2 Barton players right in her face. 9 shots on goal now for Barton. No shots on goal still for the Knights. And that kick upfield by Uriah sails out. So Barton gets it.
Yeah, and if you talk to Uriah, she'd much rather be out there on defense than in goal. She was, just came in to do whatever she could do because of the injury to Rachel Miller. But if she had her rather, she'd rather be out as a defender and have Rachel back there in goal.
Been very tough on Carmel Hardy being thrown into the mix too as a freshman. And now they even have, Weymouth, who also has joined the team as maybe at this point a backup to a backup.
Yeah, that's just
if you keep Uriah healthy.
Yeah, you just never know, right? So Coach Strawrock's trying to stack the deck as much as he can in his favor in case these injuries keep on mounting up.
Well, you put the question to him a week or two ago about who's your backup for Carmel Hardy. And he went out and found one.
He went out and found one because at that time he just shrugged his shoulders and said, hey, we really don't have one. Coming into the season, you think you have 2 goalkeepers, everything's going to be great. One that you're hoping to kind of bring along and train slowly, and that would have been Hardy, and the other one, Miller, able to step right in and play from day one. And then in that first game against Bridgewater, just a mishap happens and a lacerated kidney. Who would have thought?
And, of course, no position on the field is easy to replace, but especially goalkeepers.
And it looked like Miller was going to be really good in goal for the Knights this year, able to come in and not take the place of, but step in for the senior that graduated, Mackenzie Cox, who is all-time saves leader in Knights history for women's soccer, and looked like she was really going to be able to be special in goal for them, and then have her season cut so short because of that injury is just a real shame.
Avery Bishop checking in for the Knights. Knights have not made a whole lot of substitutions today. And, of course, as a team, they are battling all these injuries, which would explain the lack of substitutions.
Oh, this is a great chance for the Knights.
Bishop with a high kick at sails over. And that was really one of their best looks, if not the best look, they've had all day long.
And that was really the only shot she had, is 2 defenders were clamping down on her, just able to get away from them enough. If she was able to put the shot on goal as the ball bounced a little bit closer to the ground instead of letting it bounce so high, may have had a better chance of putting the shot really on goal.
Leonardson comes up for the ball, but Barton comes away with it.
And that was one of the best, maybe if not the best, attacks that we have seen so far today by the Knights.
Now Barton trying to go back on the attack, but the ball will go over to Southern Virginia. Knights still looking for that first shot on goal, though. 9 shots on goal so far here in this ball game for Barton.
And the one thing that the Knights can really try to hang on to is, hey, Barton scored 3 goals in 5 minutes. It's not out of the realm of possibility. All we got to do is break the ice, and maybe we can do the same thing.
Barton obviously trying to get their 4th goal of the game, but the Knights able to clear it as Cottle kicks it downfield. That's blocked by Cottle there.
We've had a very clean game, Jim. There's not any – I can't remember any instance where we're sitting there and go, oh, that was a bad foul, or that was just a cheap shot that was taken.
The only incident where we saw somebody really go to the turf hard was Monson's, and that was, as you mentioned, a good, clean slide. That and the fact that the coaches don't want to see anything happen to Tatiana right now.
Not only her, but anybody out there right now, as every available body is so valuable. But it was a surprise to see Tatiana come in. Like I said, she had her MRI. I saw her out warming up and asked assistant coach Randy Klein,
for a second there, you thought somebody else got assigned 18, right?
Yeah, and I
didn't tell you.
I asked Coach Klein, what's Tatiana doing out there? And said, hey, Marion, our trainer, has cleared her for 5 minutes at a time, so she got her 5 minutes in the first half.
We'll see if she gets any 5 minutes here in the second half as Uriah makes the play. Gets it over to Cottle. She tries to work it upfield. No one home for that pass.
You know, and Cottle's been a workhorse for the Knights this year. There's not a game that she hasn't been in, and she's played a majority of the minutes in each game.
Yeah, that we talked about players who haven't been hurt this season that we can recall, and Ann Powell and Cottle are two that come to mind. Not sure that Sorensen's really faced any injuries this season, too.
Sorensen's been out there for the majority of all the games. Also, Hatchett and Miller have really been stalwarts in that back line for the Knights. So
and, Slade and Winterton, too.
Yeah, so there's a lot of young ladies that are getting a lot of playing time, and we can see them grow. It's just the players that are around them keep changing because of injuries, and so they can't get comfortable in who they're playing beside.
Hatchett's had a lot of minutes this season. Others that have been hurt, obviously, though, Jackie Barlow at times. And, of course, we've also seen injuries to a few others, like Alicia Blackham.
Yeah, Alicia was out for a little while with concussions. We got Zoe Bradshaw out now. Oh, this is
to the right side.
That was a very scary moment.
Barton tries to center. They do. Point blank shot. Knocked away. Good defensive play there by the Knights.
You know, and just as we talked about.
That was Avery Bishop, I think. Nope, it was Hatchett making the play again.
Yeah, Hatchett and Miller there trying to do a lot of things on defense. And just as we talked about them playing a lot of minutes, I saw Cami Miller bent over, grabbing her shorts. That's the universal sign for, hey, I'm getting a little winded here.
Corner kick. Work back to the right. Now towards the middle.
And again, there's Miller clearing it out to the near side third instead of clearing it down the middle of the field where we've seen the Knights be hurt so many times.
Let's try to clear away. Barton keeps it in. Bulldogs trying to get goal number 4. Winterton right there.
Nice job. Not trying to do too much with it. Clear it out. Let the defense get set. It's just a throw in. You see Barton trying to start quickly, looking for that 4th goal.
And they get it. A blasting shot from the left side. Just, you're right, nothing she could do with that. That was a quick shot taken. And it just sails into the left for their 4th goal. Yeah, just as you mentioned that, Mike.
And when there's no defender around you and you're able to really strike the ball with that type of velocity, there's nothing that the goalie can do.
Yeah, by the time Uriah was aware of the shot, that ball's almost in the net. Might have been the clinching goal right there for the Bulldogs. Now lead by 4 with just a little under 28 to go. Now the question, Mike, in addition to trying to stay healthy in this game for the Knights will be is, can they get some offense going, maybe at least get a couple of shots on goal, and perhaps even get that first goal of the game?
Yeah, shots on goal they need to try to manufacture some corner kicks. Both of those will start to loosen up the defense a little bit, and you never know. One could skip by, get you that first goal, and that could start an avalanche of goals being scored for the Knights. Wait and try to see who the sub is coming in.
Barton trying to work it upfield. Powell right there to get it. And over to Miller and Sorensen.
It looks like the Knights are just trying to play some possession type game here. If they know that they can't get the ball down and build up for a shot on goal, they're going to try to at least clear it out so there's a long throw in for the Barton Bulldogs.
Barton's got a player towards the middle. Pass aimed that way, but the Knights get rid of it. Knights haven't had too many good looks, no shots on goal. Avery Bishop a few minutes ago was able to position herself in the middle of the field towards the right in front of the goal, but not able to get a quick shot away because you mentioned, Mike, a couple of defenders were on top of her.
Yeah,
Collision there, and I think that might have been Winterton who went down.
Bounces right back up, though. Nice to see. I'm sure the coaching staff saying the same thing.
Powell battles for it and takes it away. Barton right back on the attack. Good play there by Slade, I believe. Now Barton with a chance to get another goal, and they do.
Yeah, they were able to just make that one move right past Hatchett, and then she was able to put the ball right on her right foot as Uriah was coming out, trying to stop it, and just put it right over the top for a goal.
And if Uriah doesn't come out, probably the same result.
Same result anyway. Once she got past Hatchett and put the ball on her right foot, that ball had at least a 99% chance of going in.
And now suddenly a couple of goals by Barton, much like the first half. They got 3 goals in a 5-minute span. They've now picked up 2 here in the second half in just a few minutes.
And again, it's not just giving up the one goal. Giving up one goal at a time is not bad, but when you get a flurry of goals in a short amount of time, that can really drain you offensively and defensively.
Still 25 minutes to go in this one, and the Knights now trail by 5. They've had a lot of close games this season. Saturday might have been the worst when they lost to 7-1 to St. Mary's. Barton on the attack again. That pass a little too long. So the Knights have played a lot of close games in September, Mike, but the last couple of games, maybe due to the lack of offense, starting to fall behind here. 5-0, losing to St. Mary's on Saturday, 7-1.
That's a lack of offense. It's also the lack of having your top players out there on the field. It's all the injuries that have built up to everybody, and that takes a toll on you, not only in games but in practices too. So you're not able to practice the things that you want to do if you're always worried and nursing injuries for all the players out there on the field.
Sarah Foster trying to make the play. Barton has the ball momentarily. Now Slade's got it. Working her way up the right side. Long shot taken. Easy save for the goalkeeper.
Yeah, and right there we see the difference. And it might be just tired legs of the Knights, but you saw the difference between the shots between Barton and that shot on goal for the Knights. Just much more crisp and clean that the Barton Bulldogs are able to get their shots off, and the Knights are a little bit mishitting the ball, and it just comes in nice and easy.
Especially for the second half, players like Powell, Slade, again, in the second half, you play a lot of minutes, it's going to take its toll in the second half.
Well, and they're always chasing, too, and anytime you're chasing on defense, that takes even more out of you.
Here's Winterton. She goes down, trying to get it upfield. Barton's going to make a substitution here.
Looks like number 23, Gabby Gilliford, comes in. Also for the Knights, Alicia Blackham came in for Victoria Slade.
Have to see if Monson makes a return here in the second half for just a couple of minutes or not. Another substitutions for the Knights as Miller will check out. And it looks like that's going to be Chloe Lewis coming in.
You know, and, before the game, I saw the trainer working on Miller's foot. They're bandaged it up. Looks like she might be having some plantar fasciitis maybe sneak in on her, and so it's they're over there trying to work on her foot now.
Saw Jamila on the sidelines too before the game, obviously not dressed, and got to be tough for these players who have had played a lot of minutes in September to sit and watch their teammates play.
Well, that's one way that you can keep them out of the game is by not letting them put on their uniform. Because once they
can't accidentally wander onto the field.
Exactly. Once they put their uniform on, then it's all about coach, let me in, coach, let me in. I can do it. I do it. And obviously,
sounds like you've heard that before.
I've heard it a lot. And player safety is paramount, and it's just a way that you can
well, especially when you're talking about concussions.
Yeah, you don't want to mess around with those, and it's just a very safe way to let the player know that there is no way that you're going to play in this game today. I don't even know if Coach Garrock got her jersey out of the laundry room.
Cottle kicks it upfield. See if the Knights can get a goal here before this one's all said and done with it just over 21 minutes to go.
Oh, that'd be a great boost for morale if they could stick a goal or two in. Again, the Knights they work really hard. They're shorthanded. It really takes a toll on them in practice as they're not able to do everything that they want to do. But they seem to go out there and to try to perform to the level that will help them win is just remarkable.
And tough customers on the schedule coming up, Mike. 4 straight Capital home games coming up between October the 3rd and October the 14th. Salisbury on Saturday, Christopher Newport on Tuesday the 6th, on Friday the 9th, Wesley, and then October the 14th, Mary Washington.
Yeah, and there's no easy games there. Anytime you're playing in the Capital Conference, you're always, no matter what the record is, it's always going to be a tough game.
How's the top 25 looking for D3 soccer for women's and men's?
Well, we'll go through the top 10 here for both of them. In women's, it's Messiah at 1, Trinity, Texas is 2, Williams is 3, Carnegie Mellon 4, Lynchburg at 5, William Smith 6, Washington University 7, Illinois Wesleyan at 8, Denison 9, and Hope at 10.
And you wonder if Lynchburg can go all the way this season again.
Yeah, that's what I talked to Coach Garrock about that after they played Lynchburg, and he says, they're a really good team, but they really miss the seniors that they lost from last year. It's hard to replace All-American strikers and goaltenders. On the men's side, you have Kenyon at 1, Franklin Marshall at 2, Brandeis at 3, Christopher Newport at 4, Amherst 5, Tufts 6, Carnegie Mellon 7th, Whitworth 8, RPI 9, and Montclair State at 10.
So when you match them together, Carnegie Mellon's having some pretty good soccer seasons this fall.
They're having great soccer season. And on the men's side, down at number 20 is Salisbury. So and
we'll see them, of course, again on Saturday.
Yeah.
Christopher Newport next Tuesday.
Yeah, 2 Capital Conference teams in the top 20 for Division III soccer. I mean, where else are you going to find that? And that's what these kids need to understand as they come into play. It's not like, oh, I'm playing Division III, and I hear some kids kind of apologetic to other family members. Oh, I'm just playing Division III. Well, you're coming to the Capital Conference,
right? And
you're going to play top-notch teams. Most likely, you're going to have at least one team ranked in the top 10 for every sport there is. So don't be apologetic. You're coming into a great conference. Come in and understand that you have to give your best every moment that you're out there.
No matter whether it's Capital play or for football, NJAC play.
Yeah, the NJAC is just as tough.
Nice lead pass. And that shot just tails off to the left. Wide open goal.
Yeah, and Savannah hesitated a little bit. And again, you have to wonder if that might be some rust from her not being able to play in a couple games. We usually see her make a little bit faster adjustment on that and come out harder on a ball like that. But, not being able to play so much and getting practice time in the last 2 weeks may be showing some of her rust.
12 shots on goal now for Barton, just 1 shot on goal for the Knights. We mentioned at halftime just the pure number of shots was a 17-1 Barton advantage. Barton scored 3 in the first half, 2 so far here in the second half. Knights still looking for their first goal of the game.
And again, there's Monson out there. Get her a little bit of time in.
She'd love to be able to get the first goal of this ball game for the Knights.
Oh, that would just that would make her day.
Tatiana working toward the middle. Can't really get a good shot off though.
No, number 24 for Barton. Rachel Kruger was able to just keep in between the goal and Tatiana and not let her get a clean shot off.
You see Greensboro's players getting ready. Of course, we'll have game number 2 coming up about a half hour after this one ends. Men's soccer, Greensboro against Southern Virginia.
And again, it'll be interesting to see what kind of lineup that Coach Patino puts out there. A lot of players on the injured list for him.
We'll see if Mulabah plays, how many minutes he plays, and how effective he might be if he plays. And
have to see if Keenan Carroll goes back into goal. We talked about him being sick a little bit earlier and going in to get some urgent care. So that may be something that we look at also as far as new players out there on the field.
Men with a record of just 1-8 on the season. Their one victory, a road contest at Ferrum. They're still looking for their first home victory. But then again, they have played a lot of tough teams in that fall schedule, the non-conference schedule here in 2015. A lot of ODAC teams.
A lot of ODAC teams who were picked to be in the top part of the ODAC. The one surprise that came out of the ODAC has been Washington and Lee so far. And we saw them play, and they are an attacking machine.
But then again, the men had that game tied at 1 with 10 minutes to go.
They did, but...
And, of course, had the halftime lead against Roanoke College at 1-0.
But because of the attacking nature of both teams, they just kept on throwing the ball at the goal, at the goal, at the goal. That just leads you to break every once in a while.
Men, kind of like the women, they've had their losses here in September, but a lot of them have been close losses. And never to the point of giving up more than 3 or 4 goals. So that's another reason it was kind of surprising on the road Saturday for the men that they fell behind and ended up losing to St. Mary's by a final score of 7-0.
Yeah, again, we hope that is just an anomaly, an outlier, that one game in the Capital Conference, and we hope that the rest of them are either blowouts for us or close wins for us.
But as we talked about, Mike, just no soft spots on that Capital Conference schedule.
No, and it's always you have 1 or 2 teams that you know is going to be really good every year, year in and year out. Then you have the other teams that come up just like out of nowhere. But you know each year that the top 6 are going to be very stout.
Have an injured Knight, I think, on the field. Not sure of the number, but went to the turf hard.
And that's the one thing that the coaching staff didn't want to see today is anybody go down. Looks like it's number 6. Yeah, number 6, Shirley Morales. Good to see her pop up a little bit, walking it off some. Maybe just got the breath knocked out of her.
Yeah, it looked like she went into the turf face first, so that might be the case.
So again, the number 1 overall goal of this game wasn't to win it from the coaching staff. It was, hey, we need to make sure that we don't get hurt.
Looks like play is ready to resume. Well, the Knights have the 1 shot on goal, Mike, just no goals and very few shots overall.
Again, a lot of players out there playing in unfamiliar positions or playing beside someone that's unfamiliar
nice
to
pass by Monson downfield for Cottle, but taken away by Barton.
And if you can see the Knights generate those type of attacks over this last 13 minutes, hopefully one of them will slide through and we'll get a real good shot on goal.
Knights was really looking for that offensive explosion that they had against Avery, where they scored 4 goals, 2 on breakaways by Jamila Gambi, 2 great shots by McFadden too. And I think you said at halftime of that game, the Knights didn't play particularly well in that first half and wound up with 4 goals.
Yeah, that was just a.
They played better in the second half and wound up with no goals, but still able to win that game 4-3.
You know, and that's just the way soccer goes. You can play really well and have all shots on goals that you want and still come out with a 1-0 win or loss and feel really good about it. Or you can have the 4 goals in the first half, and I talked to Coach Garlick about that, and he was very disappointed in his team, feeling like they didn't play well at all.
Barton tried to get towards the center. They do, but it's booted away by Powell. Barton keeps it in. Uri able to make that pick up. 13 shots on goal for Barton, 1 shot on goal for the Knights. No corner kicks for the Knights, 4 for the game for Barton.
You know, and one thing the Knights would like to do is really have a very great counterattack, but because of the lack of numbers, especially in practices, not able to really practice that.
Uri able to come out, beat a Barton player to the ball.
Throwing for the Knights, and again, quick start.
Cottle passing up to Barlow. She hits the turf pretty hard. Collision with Lane Brooks. Brooks was the player from Barton who got the 3rd goal of the game. Had that booming shot from about 30 yards away.
Looks like the Knights may have their first corner kick for this evening. Again, a great opportunity to have a good shot on goal.
And it looks like it's going to be McFadden who will take it.
McFadden comes in for Cottle, and Nakamoto comes in for Morales.
Towards the middle, Knights can't get a header off, and the ball rolls away to Barton, and Barton clears. Good play there by the Knights to take the ball away.
Yeah, nice job by Blackham using their body to really shield off and get the ball.
With the passing game, it's Monson getting it over to McFadden.
Yeah, McFadden just touched it too hard to get it up for any type of shot.
McFadden coming from behind to steal the ball. Powell's right there for it. Knights on the attack. Here's Monson right side.
I think they're going to call her offsides.
Well, you wanted to see what she was going to do with the ball before that offside was called.
And we saw Powell come up there on the offensive side, and she's a little sneaky offensive player. I'd really, again, she's a great defender, but you just have to wonder in the back of your mind, what could she do as a striker?
Good speed, and looks like she's kind of like Jamila Gambi, got a lot of stamina too.
Yeah, good foot skills, able to drill the ball through traffic. You know, you just have to sit there and maybe in the back of your mind start letting it formulate, what could she do as a striker for this team?
Not very big, 5'5", but seems like she's pretty tough too. As Monson tries to battle through a defender, can't do it to get the ball.
And it'll be a throw in for the Knights.
Comes to Foster. Gets it to Monson. Monson can't get a shot off and is knocked to the turf. Bounces right back up though. Just too many defenders in the middle of the field there, Mike, for Tatiana to really get a good shot off.
Yeah, and she was trying to turn it to get it to her right foot so she could get a booming shot off. Maybe it'd have been better if she could have touched it with the left foot and then got the shot off with the left foot.
Shot over the goal.
But again, took a big hit. Tatiana took a big hit, jumped right back up. Nice to see. Only had one person stay down for any amount of time, and that's Morales. And we're kind of guessing that maybe it was just the wind knocked out of her.
McFadden battles for it. Takes a little chop there. And Powell will do the throw-in.
Yeah, you don't want to see anything get chippy in this last 7 minutes of the game. But again, we've seen better attacks this last 5 or 6 minutes of the second half than we have in the whole game. So
and Barton has scored basically it's 5 goals in, when you talk about the spans, what, 7 minutes?
7 minutes. Again, that's something that the Knights really have to work on to rectify. You cannot give up multiple goals in a span of 4 to 5 minutes.
Especially when you consider if Barton doesn't score again here in the final 6 minutes, that they were scoreless then, Mike, for what, about 83 minutes today.
Yep. That's just one of those issues. Again, the Knights are struggling to score, and you can't allow multiple goals because you know your offense isn't going to give you that many goals right now.
Good takeaway by the Knights.
Blackham with a shot.
Shot from right side right to the goalkeeper.
See Barton taking a few seconds off the clock. Not a full stall, but starting to work the clock to their advantage. Hatchett with a nice challenge. Looks like I've got some new substitutions for the Knights. Try to get those as soon as they're put up for us. Victoria Slade in for Alicia Blackham.
Doniana trying to get a shot away here. About 25 yards away. Good moves. Fires. Go. Nice stop by the goalkeeper. Best shot of the day, maybe for the Knights. Best opportunity for the Knights all day long.
Yeah, nice job by the goalkeeper to come out and get her right hand on the ball. Just able to tip it enough to keep it out of the goal.
Knights now with 3 shots on goal.
And all of them happening here in the second half. So you can see that the Knights are starting to get a little bit more comfortable in this new formation that they're trying to run. Obviously, Coach Starlock hasn't really substituted liberally, trying to make sure that the players get comfortable playing beside their new mates.
Yeah, good to see Tatiana get some minutes, and looked like she's pretty healthy out there. You can get Jamila back and a few others. Maybe these Knights can win some capital games here in October.
Yeah, the goal again is, can we make it into the top 6? That's all we need to do to get to the conference tournament. And then once you get to the conference tournament, then it's kind of coin flips in who's going to win, because the teams could be really close to being equal.
So you get the feeling Coach Gronerrock's going to stick with this system, and if he gets some players back, how will he plug those returning players who hopefully will get healthy into this perhaps new system?
Well, like I said, it's a new system for the Knights to be running, but not a new system for the players themselves. Most high schools use this 4-3-3. It's a nice attacking type of formation, and most of them are really familiar with it. So it's something that they don't really have to worry about getting a lot of practice time on.
Monson tried to get a shot off, couldn't, and hit to the turf. Powell's there, fires a shot, but it's going to go off to the left.
And so this last 13 minutes have to be very encouraging to the coaching staff, saying, okay, now we're starting to see some things gel together. We weren't able to see it in practice so much, but now we're starting to see it against very good competition.
Yeah, the Knights attacking and also attacking effectively. Much more here in the second half, Mike. Pass into McFadden. Winterton battling for it.
Yeah, and the effectiveness is, there's a...
And Powell hitting the turf along with the Barton player.
Whew.
No whistles, and play continues.
But just like any sports, consistency is the key to being successful, and we're starting to see some of these players consistently being able to play beside each other for this whole game, starting to understand where everybody's going to go, reading each other a little bit more. Right off the crossbar there for the field goal. But you see them starting to get a little bit more comfortable with their teammates that are playing beside them, and understanding where they're going to go, how they want the pass, how far can you pass ahead of them so they can chase it down.
Well, Mike, looking ahead real quick to game number 2, we'll have for you the men's game, the second game of this doubleheader against Greensboro, coming up after this game wraps up, about a half hour after that game wraps up. What do you expect in the men's game coming up?
Well, again, we're going to see what the starting lineup is going to look like, who's going to be out there, who's available for Coach Patino. Hopefully they have enough players that have played beside each other that they're not really going to take a full game for them to gel together. We know that their offense has been struggling. We'd like to see some great attacks in the first few minutes of the game to maybe break the ice early.
The men will come in with a record of 1-8 on the season. And they're looking for their first game, Mike, not only their first home victory, but their first game where they have scored more than a goal a game.
And this would be a great time for them to do that.
This one wrapping up here from the fields at Southern Virginia University as the Knights, the women's soccer team, just about 22 more seconds to work with to try to get a goal.
Well, I think they've been successful on a couple of their objectives for today. No one seriously got hurt. There's no injuries that have happened to preclude anybody from playing in the next game. 2, they started to find some gelling of some players together.
And the horn sounds, and Barton wraps up a 5-0 victory. So the women's soccer team for Southern Virginia dropping to 3-7 with this loss, and Barton, Mike, now improves to 4-2-2.
Yeah, again, it's a tough game for the Knights to play, but a necessary one for them to try to get ready for the rest of the conference season. Hopefully we saw some attacking nature of the Knights in the last 13 minutes. We'd like to see them continue that attacking nature. Obviously, not giving up goals in flurries in 5-minute spans would be something that their defense needs to really shore up and work on.
And, of course, the women now think about their next opponent, which will, of course, be Salisbury coming up on Saturday afternoon for this very same field.
Yeah, another tough game for them. At least they don't have to travel. It's a home game. They're able to stay where they're at. Again, go from the last 13 minutes of this game. Let's move forward. They have 2 days to prepare for the upcoming game, and so hopefully we'll see them really come out and on fire in the next game.
So that's going to wrap things up here in game number 1 of our doubleheader. A reminder, we'll have men's soccer coming up in about 30 minutes or so, as the men will be taking on Greensboro College. Final score again here in game number 1, though, it was Barton over Southern Virginia 5-0. Again, reminder, stay tuned. In just a few minutes, about a half hour away, we will have game number 2, the men's soccer contest between Southern Virginia and also Greensboro College. So make sure you stay tuned for that.